Good evening, good morning, good night, you lovelies. It is the one, the only Cappy D Bar. I want to first apologize for the audio quality of this video. I'm going through some technical difficulties, alright? I'll do my best to make this video as watchable and as listenable as I can, alright? But this is going to be my first out of 3 videos that I'm going to be recording off of wired headphones. So I would require just a little bit of patience, alright? We're going to be getting to our One Piece chapter 1163. I had a really good time with this chapter. I think a lot of this story is going in an amazing direction. I do not know what's going to happen when we get back to Elbaf, but realistically, we're going to have some shit to deal with because Imu is no fucking joke, okay? The world government is doing a bunch of crazy shit right now, and this flashback only strengthens the claims that the world government weren't pushovers, right? Really quickly, we're going to be getting to our fan request cover. Our fan request cover is Luffy dancing with a bunch of monkeys. It's pretty cool, pretty nice. It's theorized that one of Luffy's original inspirations, one of Oda's original inspirations for Luffy was Wukong, the Monkey King. So, we're probably going to get some more monkey-esque things from Monkey D. Luffy, right? Just makes sense. And it does seem like we are fully finished with this Yamato cover story. So that is something that we're going to have to no longer endure, okay? Shout out to us. Imu and Saturn have fully completed their transformation, and they're running amok. They're running amok on God Valley. They're killing Marines, they're killing pirates, and even some of the Roger pirates and some of the fodder pirates are pinned down by Imu's insane haki. We've seen this exact same haki on Egghead, and we are seeing this now currently on Elbaf with Gonko being switched into the Imu kind of proxy. Really a lot of interesting shit happening there. What I think is the most interesting part about this is Garp. Garp finds out about what and who Imu is, and they say that the Gorosei and Saturn, along with the rest of the Gorosei, are just a bunch of maggots, right? So it's fitting that this creature, this cretin, right, that Garp is just taking as an issue, that's taking out Marines, taking out pirates, he deems it as a maggot, right? And then we get a really interesting word, and we get a really interesting description. And we get a really interesting description from Rox. He calls Imu in this transformed Saturn state, which is also super badass to look at. He calls it the King of Rats. Now, famously, the King of Rats. Now, the King of Rats, for those who don't know, is a term used in Germany, all right? It's normally called a Rattenkong, and it was calqued into English as where a lot of rats and a lot of mice just have their tails entangled on one another. And normally, the king are the kind of caboose of the rat consortium, if you would. That would be deemed the Rat King, the one free rat. And I think that this may be alluding to Imu's abilities. It is a conglomeration of powers, it's a conglomeration of abilities, and they're all wired and weaved together, kind of like a nest of rats, if that's making any sense. And Imu are, Nefertari, whoever is supposed to be Imu, right? This person is the controller of the power. This is the person, the controller of the weight of the kind of rat king, a king of rats. If you were to Google king, rat king, it is quite literally a just a ball of rat and rat tails. So I think that Rox is alluding to something very specific with this nickname, but I do not know at the time. I'm not sure yet at the time what he is alluding to, but I really like this. Rox is being defiant, and he is keeping his promise of standing on business with Imu. I fuck with that pretty heavy. With that, Rox is standing on big business. Can't get happy enough about that. But Imu, upon this insult of being called a Rat King, they respond by calling Rox D. Zebek Davy D. Jones. Now we've seen this again in Egghead when Saturn called Luffy Nika, right? There's a lot of interesting lore shit happening right now. Unfortunately, though, due to the technical abilities of this video, I cannot go into full matter how I would like to. Same thing with the SmackDown and other video that I'll be posting today. But it's really insane shit that we're getting from Emu. I just like the lore dump that we're getting. You know, hypothetically, Emu met Davy D. Jones in their past life, same way they met Joy Boy. I'm still holding on to this whole Sasuke, Naruto, Joy Boy, Davy D. Jones thing. I do not know where that's going to go yet, but the seeds that are being planted with Davy Jones being against the world government, Joy Boy just being a catalyst for the new generation and for the Void Century. There's so much that goes into this. And the Void Century flashback is going to be fucking legendary. It is going to be some of the best shit Oda has created. I really enjoyed also Garp being confused about what was going on, and they didn't know if they should help Saturn or if they should help Rox. Because, you know, again, Saturn and Emu, they're taking out Marines, but Rox is Rox, right? Rox and Saturn are boxing off, and Garp's like, I don't know who to help. I don't know what the fuck is going on, right? They kind of decide that they should just assist Rox, being that they can't really quantify exactly what Emu is. And while this is going on, we see Dragon sprinting through the forest with Shanks. He's, you know, saying that he has to be kept safe, but, you know, suddenly they hear a loud screech, and we learn that Captain John, just as Captain Kidd has, is in possession of the magnet Jika fruit. And Captain John, in probably one of the coldest panels of this fucking chapter, one of the coldest, there's definitely a definitive cold panel, he just magnetizes all of the treasure towards him, and Dragon's gun on his back, it's metal, so that starts getting pulled in, and all the other pirate sword and shit starts getting pulled in. It's insane. It's some really insane shit. What I really love from this though is Ganzui, he sees that Captain John is trying to makeshift, you know, an escape plan with all of the treasure from the entirety of God Valley, and Ganzui, he uses a booger from his nose, and he fucking explodes it with the bomb fruit. So he had the bomb fruit before Mr. Five in Alabasta. What the fuck? Just insane shit happening here. I really like the fucking deep cuts. I haven't thought about the bomb fruit in decades. That's how long it feels like. It feels like fucking forever. So I really enjoyed this callback. Shiki and Ganzu, they both discuss how each chest is about 1 billion each, which is why, you know, Captain John can just made off with all of it. You know, Ganzui, he had to kill or at least defeat Captain John, and we're led to believe that Shiki and Ganzui kind of hooked off on each other a little bit for at least one of the chests, because again, the chest is about 1 billion berries a chest. So come on, it's a lot of bread. That's a lot of bread. We're definitely starting to see the cracks in the rocks. We're starting to see the cracks in the rocks pirates. It makes sense also because everybody's profit incentivized, just like the American healthcare system. We get a really nice amassing of all the legends. Rox is doing his thing. Whitebeard and Garp, they come out the cut. Roger flies in. Kaido arrives, and Big Mom is trying to strike Kaido, right? Because, you know, Kaido hooked off on her for the dragon fruit, and all together, right? Rox using Pandemonium of Abyss, a first name move from Rox, so that's pretty fucking big. Pandemonium of Abyss. For those who don't know, Pandemonium, the origin of that word is from Dante's Divine Comedy, where, you know, he travels through the 3 rings of hell, and, you know, we learn that one of the first meeting places of Satan and his followers were the Pandemonium halls in hell. So small little piece of lore there. I just like that for Rox. It just makes sense. Galaxy Impact is being used by Garp. A lot of people are saying that Garp has Conqueror's Haki. I believe that Garp has a level of Conqueror's Haki just to the same level that Kid has, because it is not as potent as it's not as potent as a Roger or a Shanks, where it has to be said 1,000,000 times that there's Conqueror's Haki being used. But I like to believe that there is like at least a base level of Conquerors being used, because it's just not addressed. It's not addressed anywhere in the show, and I'm not a really big fan of that. We get a attack from Big Mom, Kaku Sovereignty. Kaido uses Dragon Breath. Kaido uses his newly found dragon breath, which is just kind of just dragon, which is kind of funny. And Roger uses divine departure. Whitebeard uses again first name attack for Whitebeard, shattering, void, and they all land clean strikes on Imu. This does nothing though, because Imu is built different, just like we've seen with Gonko and just like we've seen with Shamrock and Summers. He or it can regenerate. And upon Imu's regeneration, you know, they said that there's nothing that these attacks can do to Mu, right? These attacks, they're only prolonging the inevitable. And, you know, Imu starts to use a bit of future sight. If I had to imagine, he looks off into the vast depth of the forest and he says, "Oh, so there your wife and your child are. Two lonely members of the Davy clan. A new lineage. They have to get wiped out. For Mu's world is not fully complete." And that was just insane shit. Imu, just the way he speaks, also so fly. So fucking fly. Rox, upon hearing this, you know, he cuts him up. Surprisingly quick chapter, by the way. We're almost done. Rox chops him up, and after chopping him up, Imu, you know, he says that these two surviving members of the Davy clan, they cannot live, right? It's just not allowed. Rox, in the middle of him, you know, finishing chopping up, Imu says, "Oh, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to try to kill them?" And Imu says, No, that burden's going to fall on you, Davy pirate. Dami Reversi. And Rox gets Dami fucking Reversi after two tentacles. One pierces his kidney, the other one pierces his lung. It's sick. It's sick. And this is the origins of God Valley. This is the official tellings of God Valley. It's Rox, Whitebeard, Roger, Big Mom, and maybe even one other Rox pirate. They're going to be trying to take down Rox as he attempts to march towards Iris and Teach. Really crazy shit, man. Really crazy shit. In the midst of this, we also got a massive Conqueror's Blast from Imu. It's the second one of the chapter, so not that impressive. But again, it's a second level Conqueror. It's a second massive level Conqueror's Haki attack. You could even say it's even somewhere on par with Shanks, or Shanks. You could even say it's somewhat on par with Shanks on Wano, or Rayleigh on Amazon Lily with Blackbeard. There's a lot of ways you can go with this Conqueror's Haki comparison, but it is a lot of Conqueror's Haki, and there are a lot of people that are left standing. You know, Rayleigh is making a run for it. Roger, Whitebeard, Big Mom, and Garp, they're obviously still standing, which I guess is kind of a claim for Conqueror's Haki. But the idea that Garp has Conqueror's Haki and no one's ever like, "Oh my god, Garp, the Conqueror user." It's always like, "Oh no, Garp, the Vice Admiral." It's like, why wouldn't his name be like, "Oh, Vice Admiral Garp, the oldest Conqueror user in the world," or something like that? I don't know. I feel like Oda should just put the stamp on it. I just like that. I also really like, as you know, the attacks from everyone has landed before Rox get Dami Reversi. There's a lot of arguing happening. Rox and Garp are arguing about the potency of their attacks. Big Mom and Kaido are arguing about, you know, which attack really led damage. And, you know, it's not too... And, you know, it'll be hard to forget that Imu recovered from all this and that they're still walking around to this day. So none of these attacks did shit. We are not getting a break next week, but I really like the idea of Rox being transformed into something else, right? This being the catalyst for the Rox Pirates, Roger, and Garp to team up. Mwah, chef's kiss on Oda's behalf. And realistically, we're going to be seeing the death of Rox very soon. Unfortunately, I really like this character, but One Piece got to do what One Piece got to do. All right, we got to get the fuck to Elbaf somehow. This is probably one of the better chapters of maybe the year. I really enjoyed this chapter, from a lore to an action to a storytelling perspective. Everything on all cylinders just flies off for me. I'm looking forward to seeing what we can get from the next One Piece chapter from Mr. Ichiro Oda, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we can get in Elbaf. Elbaf is right around the corner, and I know that when we return, Luffy, Imu, Zoro, Sanji, and even my boy Usopp are going to do some real fly shit, okay? This is your boy Kappa D Barra, all right? This is my official review for One Piece, chapter 1163, all right? Hope you guys have an amazing rest of your night. There will be some other stuff coming up, so you guys stay tuned for that. And as I always say, stay beautiful. Peace.